It seems like every time we go to the grocery store or fill up our gas tank, things are more and more expensive. It's like we're all feeling the pinch from these rising costs, and inflation is hitting everyone pretty hard. And it really makes you think about how it's impacting people's finances. And speaking of finances, have you seen this? U.S. credit card debt has just hit a record high, $1.21 trillion in debt. It's trillion with a T. It's a truly staggering number. I mean, just think about that for a second. $1.21 trillion. It's hard to even wrap our heads around a figure that big, but it really paints a picture of the kind of financial strain so many people are under right now. I think it's really easy to just point fingers and say people are just spending beyond their means, but it's just not that simple. There's so many factors at play here, and when we dig a little deeper, we start to see a much more nuanced picture. And one of the biggest pieces of this puzzle is inflation. I mean, inflation's been on everyone's minds and lips, and it's really impacting how far our money goes. Because essentially what inflation means is that your dollar just doesn't have the same purchasing power as it used to. So even if you're spending the same amount of money, you're actually getting less for it. And when prices are going up faster than wages, people often turn to credit cards to make ends meet. It's almost like a survival tactic for some families just to cover the basics, like keeping food on the table and a roof over their heads. It's not just about keeping up with the Joneses anymore. We're talking about covering those essential expenses, like groceries, gas, rent, things that we all need to survive. And when you're relying on credit cards for these essentials, it puts you in a very vulnerable position because any unexpected expense, like a sudden medical bill or a car repair, could really throw your whole budget off track and lead to even more debt. It's a bit of a vicious cycle. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are actually steps you can take to kind of navigate this challenging financial landscape. Like, have you ever considered debt consolidation? It's a strategy where you combine multiple debts into one, and sometimes you can even get a lower interest rate. And that can make it much easier to manage your monthly payments. And you might even save some money in the long run. And another resource that people often overlook is financial counseling. A good financial counselor can really help you create a budget that works for your specific situation and explore different options for managing debt. They can even negotiate with your creditors on your behalf, which could be a huge help. So while this record credit card debt is definitely a sign that we need to be cautious, it's also a chance for all of us to be proactive about our finances. It's a good time to really look at our own spending habits and see if there are areas where we can cut back or make adjustments. And it also really highlights the importance of having those bigger conversations about things like wages and the cost of living and how we can better support families who are struggling in this economic climate. At the end of the day, it's all about finding ways to create a more stable and secure financial future for ourselves and for generations to come.